Yo, what's up guys? Welcome to a different style of video on this channel. Today I'm going to be going over a tier list for season 14. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to start introducing actual content to my channel rather than just straight up only uploading rank highlights or montages and stupid stuff, nothing that's engaging. I feel like this type of content's really more suited for me, especially being a competitive player, and most of my stream is just questions on the current meta. But yeah, that's enough introduction. I'm just going to go in order here. Before I do get started though, I just want to point out that this is all coming from a competitive standpoint. Now, it's not strictly just a competitive tier list, but my thought process is comp based, you know. It's not for fun legends or anything like that. It's legends that are gonna ultimately win you the game. Yeah, let's just get started on this video. So starting off the tier list, we have Bangalore. I put her in B tier. I think she has a lot of outplayability, especially with her high skill ceiling. I think her biggest problems are her smokes, especially with us being in a scan meta right now, which I'll dive into later into this video. But with Seer and Bloodhound both being in the meta, her smokes just kind of get nullified, especially when pushing a team. So yeah, that's kind of why I have her in B tier. She's good, but she's not anything crazy right now. She's just she's average at best. Next up we have Bloodhound here. Now, some people would put Bloodhound in a B or C tier. I like putting him up in A. I think he is one of the best legends to play aggressively on, especially with his ultimate, because his ultimate just gives you free range. It's a digi on steroids, and you have Bangalore's passive, which is the speed boost, unlocked for like 30 seconds. So the amount of intro damage you can do to start off a fight off Bloodhound is insane. And honestly, I think he's probably the second best scan legend in the game. The only reason he is not in S tier and the reason he stays in A tier is just due to Seer doing everything he does, but better. S tier is the top of the top, you know, legends that are just obviously the best. And so Bloodhound, you know, if Seer is better than Bloodhound, Bloodhound just has to go into A at that point. So that's kind of my reasoning for throwing him into A tier. Next up we have Caustic. I think Caustic's really strong right now. I think his biggest issue, he gets caught out too much. And what I mean by that is you have nothing to protect yourself besides barrels half the time. And the fact that barrels can get shot out now, this kit just seems very weak compared to other legends. So due to that, I'm gonna just throw him into a C tier. I think his ultimate's really strong, but What just counters it. And so the negatives just outweigh any positives that come from this character. So I just put him in C tier. I think at the higher end he could be moved up a little bit, but overall he's just a C tier legend. Crypto. This one I thought about for a while, and I think if you think straight up just competitively in tournaments, he goes into S tier. But I think overall, like if you count rank, pubs, arenas, all of those modes alongside competitive, he's C tier, because all those modes he is probably the worst legend to pick. And the reason for that is his drone offers nothing. It actually hurts you whenever you're pushing a team, because you're either one, out of the fight, or two, you throw your Q, and not only are you dealing 50 damage to yourself, you're now slowing the whole pace of the fight for your teammates when you siege a building by just ulting. And so the only reason that I would play him is strictly for competitive, and that is just due to the fact that he can hit beacons from afar, and he can get info on what's being played and what's not. So it's just free real estate when you play him in competitive, because not a lot of people play him. But everywhere else he's just kind of bad. Next up we have Fuse. I think this one's pretty easy. I'm putting him in A tier. The fact that you can hold multiple nades in one slot is really OP, because you could just siege a building and just kill a nade with just your nades alone. His Q is really good at opening a fight or forcing people to rotate out of certain positions, so it really helps to get intro with his Q. His ultimate also comes with wall hacks if they're in the flames. That's a buff, or that's nice and all, but his ult's honestly the weakest part of his kit. The main strong suit of Fuse is his passive, the ability of holding more nades. He pairs up really nicely with Horizon, of course, and just any aggressive comp. You can kill anybody with Fuse right now. And I know some people just don't give him the credit that I honestly think he deserves, but trust me, if you play Fuse for a game or two and just use your nades and clusters, you will see the strong capabilities of this legend. And I honestly think he's very underrated right now. Next up we have Gibby. Now Gibby got hard nerfed this patch, and not directly, but he got hard nerfed in terms of Seer being in meta, in terms of Maggie now being able to destroy his bubble. He's just ultimately got bullied into the ground. So I put Gibby in probably I would put him in B tier, just due to the fact that I feel like, being one of the only Gibbys in the lobby, you have very strong fighting capability. The problem is just getting up to a team to bubble on them, because with Seer skins being in the game now, you can't bub defensively anymore. It always has to be offensively. You have to bub on people rather than just sit back and bub, because if you play bub defensively, one, your res is going to get canceled, or two, your meds are going to get canceled. So it's just the only reason you should ever bub in this current meta is just for fighting. So he's strong for that. It's just everywhere else he's very lacking. It's kind of a one-way train if you think about it. Next up we have Horizon, and you know what, I'll even put her bug into account. Right now there's a bug to where you do a backflip while going up her tactical. By the time this, or hopefully by next season, that gets fixed, but even with that bug, she's an S tier. She is probably the second best fighting character. Some would argue she's the best fighting character in the game right now. The fact that you can retake height or queue up on somebody is just insane. But I honestly think the strongest part of her kit is her ultimate, and that's the fact that you can just ult somebody and just throw so many nades on that ult and they're dead. They're just straight up dead. You don't even have to shoot your gun with Horizon just to kill people. So she's really strong. Her passive to also not get stunned whenever she hits the ground is really strong. Overall, she's just an OP character. There's really not a lot to talk about with her. Next up we have Lifeline. I'm sure every tier list has this. I'm sure everybody has her down into D tier. Now, the reason Lifeline is honestly really bad is because of her kit. Her health drone doesn't matter. It heals too slow in the current meta. Her care package doesn't matter, because you get that loot anyways just by running around the map. And by the time you even get her ultimate, you've already ran probably halfway across the map, depending on the map, of course. So her ultimate's useless. Her Q's useless. The res shield went to Newcastle, so she's just useless overall. I really can't think of any scenario where Lifeline is good, and so they just need to rework her completely. I don't even think buffing her anymore will solve any of the issues she currently has. Next up we have Loba. I had to think about this for a little bit while I was staring at this list on where to put legends, and I ultimately came to the conclusion that Loba's just a C tier legend. Now, I know some competitive teams would put her like A, B tier. I put her in C just because the only reason you would run her is if you were landing center of the map, rotating straight to zone. And even then, she doesn't offer any value compared to a Watson on the team. Her fighting capabilities are useless. Her defensive capabilities are useless. The only good thing you get off of Loba is extra meds or ammo. Then that is it. So she's good for just that. Like, everything else just sucks. So I really don't think there's too much to explain with this character. So moving along to the next character, we have Doodled Maggie. Now, Maggie got a major buff this patch that's honestly useless due to Seer being in the meta, but the buff is she can destroy Gibby bubbles now, and her ball goes twice the distance. Now, a lot of people are going to be, they're going to bat an eye towards this, but I'm honestly going to put Maggie in A tier. Now, the reason she's in A tier is just due to her fighting capabilities. She's extremely oppressive with her tactical. The drill can not only push enemies out of spots, but the visual clutter on it is insane. You literally can't shoot through it unless you have a Digi, and even then, Digi doesn't do much against it. So her Q's really strong. Her ultimate allows you to get up to a team really quickly, and her passive to move around with shotguns makes PK insanely strong. The only negative side to her is she has no defense. The only defense she has is a drill, which if you have a team sieging you on multiple angles, that drill almost feels useless, So she's really strong offensively, very weak defensively, but I think with the right team she could be insane. It just takes a lot of coordination and synergy to run her. All right, so next up we have Mirage. I'm honestly not even gonna talk too much about this character. He's a D tier legend. His abilities are honestly trash, and he just needs to rework completely, same as Lifeline. Now, he's a little better than Lifeline because all of the clones and decoys have actual footstep audio, so it throws a lot of people off. But if you're smart, you'll notice which ones are the decoys and which one's the real one, so it's pretty easy to counterplay Mirage. So he just needs to rework all around, to be honest. There's not too much to go over with the character. Next up, we have Newcastle. Now, Newcastle got insane buffs this past season. He got a buff to where his revive is faster. You move quicker while reviving. He got a tactical buff. He just got buffed all around, So he's insane, and I honestly think he's the best defensive legend in the game right now. But even with that being said, in the current state of the meta, I just put him in B tier. And the reason for that is just because the meta is just offensive right now. It's what's gonna win you the fight the quickest, and that's just the meta. Newcastle's great at stalling, but offensively, it's really hard to be a really good Newcastle. So that's why he stays in B tier. He's really good. The meta's just not suited for him right now, in my opinion. Octane. I think Octane's one of the most fun legends, but he is honestly one of the worst rotational legends in the game. And that is just due to the fact that Stem does so much damage to you, and his ultimate just lets everybody know where you're coming from. If you pad at somebody, you're just free reign to get shot at. Like, if you don't go down while padding, honestly, you are super lucky. Like, you're just left down in the open while you're in the middle of the air. So Octane's a C tier legend. There's a lot of outplays you could do with his Q, but the amount of health it takes honestly makes it not worthwhile, especially whenever you're doing intro to a fight. So he's just gonna stay in C tier for this. Now, moving along to Ashe. Ashe is honestly going to be a B tier legend. I think she's really good at getting your team to a fight quickly. I think though that she's really bad rotating, which sounds weird, right? Because her ultimate's built to rotate, but she's only good at getting you close to people in a fight. if you think about it, her ultimate is so buggy with its placements that just rotating half the time you end up in the open, and if you're doing it late game you just die for doing it. Like, her ultimate's just really bad for that. So that's the only reason she stays in B tier. If her ultimate wasn't super buggy and you could place it where you wanted it to easier, she would move up probably to an A tier legend, but just due to how buggy her ult is, she stays in B tier. Now, next up we have Pathfinder. I think if you give players like Albrelelli or some of the best Pathfinders to ever exist in the game, he's a B tier legend. But thinking about overall and how he plays out in the game currently, he's going to go to D tier. Now, the reason for that is his hitbox. That is the majority of the reason. That, and he has no abilities to do anything besides movement. He's just fun to play. That is all Pathfinder offers. That there's nothing else to really go over. He needs to rework as much as Mirage and Lifeline, and the character just feels awful playing in a fight. Next up we have Rampart. I think Rampart's in a solid spot right now. I just think the meta's unsuited for it, the same as Caustic pretty much, where she is a super defense character and offers very little when it comes to pushing up into fights. Just due to the fact that, like, yeah, she has a mobile Sheila, but revving it up takes a while for one, and two, it has a big laser, so if you die to a Sheila, it's your fault, to be honest, because you can see that laser from a mile away. So I'm gonna move her into C tier alongside Caustic. They pretty much are the same, like they have the same pros and cons to one another. Next up we have Revenant. Now I'm gonna put Revenant into B tier, and this is just due to the fact that I think his silences are insane in the game currently. I think his only problem is his ultimate, just due to the fact that it is super easy to shoot people whenever they push you offensively with the ult. You can just send people back immediately, just due to the fact that they're all funneling in from one spot. If you ult, you have to group up to hit that ult. So it's not like you can really get angles with it. I mean, you can, but you only have like, what, 10-15 seconds to do it, so it's really, it runs out very quickly. But his ult, surprisingly, is very strong defensively, because you can counter push a team that's currently pushing up on you. But to be honest, if you're already at that stage, you're pretty much dead. His silences are just the only good part about his kit. I think he needs to rework on his ultimate, but that's a topic for another day, to be honest. Next up, we have the man, the legend himself, Seer, the one that is quote unquote ruined Apex Legends. Now, I don't even have to say much. He goes into S tier immediately. He is the best legend in the game, hands down. Nothing even competes with them. And the reason for that is just because he has, one, unlimited wall hacks as his passive. His fucking passive is wall hacks. Two, he can silence and interrupt heals. So he gets silence abilities, interrupt heals, and he gets information on what their health currently is if he scans them. That is absurd information to have current or at all times. It's just, I don't even know why he has that. And thirdly, his ultimate, if anybody moves in your big circle of spiderwebs, they're dead. You have perfect scans on them while they're moving, which is why he's better than Bloodhound. Bloodhound can scan, gets 3 seconds of where they're moving. Meanwhile, Seer has like 30 seconds to a full minute of seeing where everybody is. That, and his ult charges insanely fast. So you get it nearly like 2 minutes into the game. Actually, it might be even less than 2 minutes. Like, I'm not sure the exact number, but he's just way overpowered right now, and hopefully we get a Seer nerf in the future. I mean, I wouldn't count on it knowing Respawn, but holy, he is very strong right now. Next up we have Valkyrie. I'm gonna move her into S tier. She got heavily nerfed this season, which a lot of the casual player base thinks she's really bad now, but listen, her rotation capabilities really didn't change, even though they nerfed her ultimate a little bit. She could still get beacons, and her Q is still really insane. Her tactical still stuns your aim. Now, it no longer stuns your movement, but the fact that it stuns your aim makes it very strong in a fight. And her jetpacks are still overpowered in a fight because you could just non-stop go up and down for angles. So she's still very strong. Obviously, she's not as strong as Horizon or Seer. Those characters are just fucking juiced to the max. I think she's in a good spot. I don't know if you can nerf her anymore, to be honest, without killing her kit completely, but she's an S tier legend. Vantage, the new legend of Apex. If I'm being honest, I think she's an A tier legend, and a lot of people would probably disagree with that, even in competitive, even a lot of like pro players and stuff. Now, the reason I have her in A tier is due to the fact that, one, if you stare at a team, you get info on all of their armors. You also get a partial wall hack with her, which is absurd. Two, if you have a 4x8 or a 6x on any sniper, it's near impossible to miss shots because it tells you where to shoot them depending on the distance. So if you miss a shot, honestly, that's on you. Her ultimate, one, charges up instantly, and it does 50 to the body, and then does 100 to the body on the second shot. So you can instantly just start a fight by just hitting 2 shots. All it takes is 2 shots and one person's out of the fight immediately. So her kit's really strong, and her movement's also insane. I didn't even get to that. Her movement's just insane with that goat. There's so much abilities, or there's so much you can do with her in terms of getting different angles that it's just absurd that not many people are playing her. I just think the only problem with Vantage is honestly Seer meta. The fact that these 3 legends up top here in S tier exist make it very hard for teams to even try her out, which is a shame really, but she's a really good legend, and I think she's super underrated. We're kind of getting to the bottom of the tier list here. We have Watson and Wraith. Now, starting off with Watson here, I think she's an A tier legend, just strictly competitive. Now, if I thought about overall, I would move her to B tier, but I'm gonna keep her in A tier, and the reason for that is she is really strong and competitive. Like, your shield economy is infinite with her. With her passive, not only genning shield, but her ultimate's genning shield. That, and it counters all these aggressive legends in terms of her ultimate. The only one it doesn't counter is Seer, obviously, but again, Seer's just stupid right now. He's absurdly overpowered. But yeah, she pairs up really well with Newcastle. You can get center zone, set up a wall, set up a gen behind the wall. Boom. The gen's basically there forever. So she's really strong, super underrated. I think she just lacks fighting capability, especially in ranked and how fast ranked matches go, which is it's honestly fine. That character's in a really good spot right now, and I don't think there's anything they can do to really change her. Next up we have Wraith. I want to put Wraith in D tier. I'm gonna put her in C tier, and the reason behind putting her in C tier is due to Seer. Seer kills Wraith off. So not only is her Q mega nerfed, it takes like 3 seconds just to get a Q off. Her port's now 50 meters, or actually no, it's 75, sorry. But Seer can cancel all of it. If you're mid port, Seer can cancel your port. If you're trying to Q out of a fight, Seer can cancel your Q. Like, she just feels super weak in this meta currently. I think they need to buff her. I don't think they need to necessarily rework her abilities, but with the Seer meta intact right now, she honestly needs insta Q back just to even have a chance of coming back into meta. But honestly, it is what it is. Wraith's a dead meme at this point, or a dead legend at this point. But that's gonna wrap up the video. I originally recorded this video a day ago with the whole editing style, but the file got corrupted and I lost it all, so sorry for the for the lack of effort in this one. I still wanted to get this video out in some form. I just didn't want to go through all of the hard work I put into it just for it to get corrupted again. So I appreciate it. If there's anything you disagreed with, you can always come by my Twitch stream, or you can just leave it in the comments down below and I'll do my best to get to it. Let me know if you guys would like to see more content like this in the future. There's stuff like I could do, like patch notes. I can explain certain buffs that Respawn should do. There's the list is endless on what I can do with this. I just want to try something new to try to diverse my content a little bit. But anyways, I'm done rambling on. I appreciate you guys for sticking around this long, and see you guys later.